Welcome back, guys. This is What If Naruto Took His Ninja Life Seriously Part 3. I will be making this pretty long because I need to finish the series and I want to continue newer what ifs that I've made, and I have an amazing idea. I want to upload it before anyone else thinks of this and puts up. I wouldn't say steal it, but puts it up. So after this I'm going to make that what if and then upload it so no one can really take it before me. Then I'm gonna continue the other voice and then continue that one. Anyways, I have a new Discord. Shout out to RATREET. Thank you for making it. I will leave a link down below to my Discord and my new Discord. And my friend RATREET. So let's get into it. So last time we left off with Naruto, Hinata, Shino, and Anko finishing the Land of Waves mission, well, their mission, and Naruto, Shino, and Hinata do make their ninja way, and it's pretty similar. It's all to do with them not letting their comrades die and never going back on their words. So now we go back to the village, and Sasuke's team, well, Team 7, did do a C-ranked mission because of Kiba and Sasuke wanting one, since they saw Naruto, Hinata, and Shino do one. And they do get one, is still escorting someone to a different land. Not too much detail in this, sorry. But this time they don't get attacked, and it's a real C-rank mission. And then once Team 8 comes back to the village, Anko tells the third Hokage about the mission and how it wasn't a C rank. It could have been even a B or an A rank, and the third Hokage classifies it as an A rank since they had to verse Haku, someone who had a special Kekkei Genkai, and Zabuza, one of the strongest of the seven ninja swordsman of the mist. I was about to say 7 deadly sins. What the hell. So now Anko does find out about the training exams, and she tells her team straight away. So they do get some training off, and they mostly train individually, but they still do study a bit together, just because they don't know what could come up in the exam, and if there's a written exam, it's better for them to study a bit. So now we start off the exam. So Team 7, I will cover Team 7 in the later part. So what they did right now, I'm covering Naruto, but Sasuke does still see Naruto training and everything, and he's kind of jealous of Naruto being so strong and knowing all these techniques that he learnt. So Naruto does still know the water shockwave, the lightning. Naruto does still have all 5 chakra natures, like I gave him at the beginning of the series. He did train with Shisui, Kakashi, Guy, Kuronai, and Asuma. Yeah, I forgot his name. And he is pretty strong. I mean, strong. And he does show off his skills a bit, but not that much. So now we start off the tuning exams. So the first exam is a written exam, and Naruto does realize that they're in a genjutsu at first, and he releases it. Same with Hinata and Shino, but Naruto just releases it before they can, and they do start their exam. Naruto realizes this exam is all about cheating and how to help their teammates pass with them. So Naruto doesn't really need to cheat, because he does study a lot since he takes his ninja life seriously, and his teammates do know most of the answers. So because they did study most of the paper, well, they studied the topics on the paper, and Naruto didn't really care that much about his team right here because he knew they can pass on their own and he believes in them. So Naruto stands up after like 2 minutes. He wrote everything down, and he does break Minato's and Itachi's record, and he is now the new record holder. So Naruto walks out and winks at Shino and Hinata. Hinata blushes and Shino nods, saying that, meaning that he will pass. Sorry, I read that wrong. And so Naruto's waiting outside. Like half an hour later, they both walk out together, and they say they both gave their exams in. Well, sorry, I'm so stupid. I'm actually so stupid. I wrote the wrong thing. So he doesn't walk out. He gives his paper in and he goes back to sit down. And once the exam is over, Ibiki does ask them, if you walk out now, your team will not pass. But if you don't pass the next exam, you won't ever be able to take another Chunin exam in your whole entire life, and blah blah blah, that BS. And the teams that remained in the original remain here as well. So now we head off to the Forest of Death. Yeah. So Anko is the proctor here, and Naruto, Team 8 is kind of surprised that Anko wouldn't tell them that she's going to be a proctor of one of the exams. But she's like, what was, if I told you guys would have expected something dangerous. And since they did take their exam, their bell test in the Forest of Death, they know a bit about it and how dangerous it is, and that there are monsters hiding in here. Not monsters, creatures that on something that you see every day, like massive snakes too big for their own good. And so here, this is where I'm gonna make the change. While Team 8 is searching for a for a team to fight, they bump into, let's say, a random team from maybe the Cloud Village, and they are pretty weak. And Naruto does blitz the one that was holding the scroll. He could see that he put his scroll inside his pouch, and he blitzed him. And while Hinata and Shino took care of the other two, Naruto took the scroll and ran away with his team. So they're gone, and the weak team is dumbfounded because they couldn't even see Naruto move, and he was already in front of them, because Naruto knows the button flicker and he's just as good as Shisui by now because he trains a lot. So Naruto's team is now heading to the Naruto's team is heading to the I had to cut it there. Naruto's team is heading towards the tower, but then they see that Sasuke's team is struggling against, Team 7 is struggling against some random ninja that looked way too strong to be a Genin. And Naruto says, how about we help them out? They look like they are in trouble. And by the time they say yes, Sasuke does get bitten and faints, and Sakura does scream out, Sasuke! But of course, Naruto then blitzes the Orochimaru, of course, and says, what are you? And Orochimaru's like, he doesn't say he's of course they don't know he's Orochimaru, and the Orochimaru's like, I'm just a random snake, and regular everyday snake. So Naruto gets angry at the vague answer and says, give me your name or I'll kill you on the spot. And Orochimaru starts laughing and says, you killing me, you brat. And Orochimaru decides to kind of go a bit try hard against him because Naruto thinks too much of himself. But then he realized he made a big mistake by trying to go and kill Naruto, because Naruto is a lot stronger here, and says wind style. Sorry, what was the move I was gonna say? 1 second. Sorry, I meant he gets his sword out and says wind release, wind wind slicer. It's a jutsu that he made up, but it's pretty strong. I'd say it's around B or A rank, since it literally slices the air and makes it into a wind slice that can slice through trees, even metal sometimes, and steel, which is pretty strong and literally cuts. Orochimaru realizes that he has to dodge. He can feel the chakra in this attack, and he dodges, but his arm is still caught in the attack, and it literally slides off because it got cut so. Let's say, you know, when a sharp knife can cut through paper. Paper is really hard to cut with a knife, just saying. It was just like that, and Orochimaru's arm just slid off. Orochimaru couldn't even notice that he got cut because it was so accurate, and it literally cut him without him even seeing. And it's pretty hard to see the attack, since it's just air with chakra in it, unless you're really good at sensing chakra. Not really good. As long as you can sense some type of chakra, you can see the attack coming towards you. But Orochimaru was too late to dodge, since it was way too close to Naruto. And Naruto is pretty good at close range fights. And then Naruto wasn't done there, and he says, Fire Style, Fire Phoenix Flower Jutsu. And he does do the same move that Itachi done against Naruto when he was reanimated. So Orochimaru realizes that Naruto is no ordinary genin. He was trained. He was especially trained for these kind of fights. And then Naruto used the body flicker, and Roundhouse appears behind Orochimaru and kicks Orochimaru on the head. Well, to the side of his face with the back of his foot, and Orochimaru goes flying. And Naruto, it wasn't done yet. He again says a wind release, wind slicer, but this time it was just to make Orochimaru jump and dodge, which worked. And said water release, water water sorry guys, water needle jutsu, which he sliced the air, and a bit of the air became needles, and they went at top speeds towards Orochimaru. He didn't put poison on his sword, so the needles weren't poisonous, so Orochimaru just gets stabbed, well, pierced, and the needles go literally through his body, and they come out the other side, and they disperse into water. Naruto said, damn, maybe I should have used some poison on my sword right before I swung, but it was too late. And Naruto decides to use his new technique that he learned from Anko, and says snake summoning. It's not the summoning jutsu, it's literally him calling up to snakes, poisonous snakes and large snakes, to attack Orochimaru. And Orochimaru realizes that in this state with only one arm, he is no match for Naruto, especially because Naruto is probably low tier Jonin, or maybe even he realizes that Naruto may not look like a Jonin, but Naruto is probably one of the if he was a Jonin, he would probably be just as strong as Kakashi, just a bit weaker because of the Sharingan. And he escapes, and Naruto says, damn, maybe I really should have killed him with poison. And Naruto realizes that there's no point of thinking over this, and goes to Sakura and Team 7 while Shino and Hinata were guarding them. And they do say, let's take a rest, because that fight was pretty intense. I don't know who he was, but I'm pretty sure he was literally at the level of Zabuza with it. And then Team 8, Shino and Hinata are pretty surprised that Naruto could tell he was that snake was at the level of Zabuza, and he was literally able to fight him off. When in the land of Waves, they struggled against Zabuza, and Naruto's like, in the land of Waves, I didn't really go all out with all my techniques, because I wasn't sure if I should use them, and I didn't know if I would have any recall. I say recall, I mean any side effects, because he could like if he wasn't trained enough, like in accuracy, could have hit Anko instead of Zabuza, and Anko would have literally lost a limb if she got cut by the wind slicer, or she could have got cut in half, and then Naruto would be blamed for Anko's death. But he doesn't want to kill Anko, of course, and he didn't really want to kill anyone, but that snake really deserved it. So Naruto and Team 8 does guard Team 7 until Sasuke wakes up in his curse-marked state, and he wakes up just before the sound ninjas arrive, and as soon as he wakes up, and he says Naruto Uzumaki, and then the sound ninjas appear and they try to attack Sasuke. Sasuke bodies them, literally annihilates them, and he's about to breaks he breaks the guy that he breaks his arms. Basically, you know the guy that had his arms broken by Sasuke? It's the same guy. Sasuke does break his arms, but this time Naruto and Hinata and Shino are helping him out, fighting the other two off, and they say leave your heaven scroll and leave your heaven scroll and we will let you live, because Team 7 needed the heaven scroll since they had the earth scroll. Same, I think I said that about Team 8 as well, or whatever. They had the scroll that Team 7 needed, and Team 8 had both scrolls. So Team 7 got the scrolls as well, and Sasuke's curse mark state returned to his normal little curse mark because he ran out of chakra. So Naruto does carry Sasuke, and they arrive to the tower, and they say we fought off some kind of snake man who was not Genin level. Naruto said he's probably high tier Jonin level, even stronger, and he said he was probably even stronger than Zabuza, and because Team 7 summoned Kakashi, ironically, and Team 8 summoned Iruka, and they told them, and Iruka says, well, as long as Naruto gave him a good beating, it's fine, since he did run away from what I heard. And Naruto's like, yeah, he did. And so Naruto would take the next 5 days as training days, but then Hinata and Shino say ask Naruto if they can train with him. So Naruto says sure, and they train with him, and Naruto does teach them to how to add a nature release to their weapons. So they do. So wait 1 second. Okay, I couldn't find much information about the chakra nature transformations, so I'll just give them 2, which are wind style. Hinata has wind style, and let's say water style, while Shino has wind style and lightning style. So they do learn how to do it, and they do get a lot stronger, since now Shino could start fighting close range, and Naruto says, hey Shino, do you want to train in some taijutsu? Maybe I can teach you some new skills. And Hinata's like, yeah, I can teach you a bit of the gentle fist. And Naruto's like, yeah, we can make you can make yourself a new type of pose, like a new type of technique, combined with the gentle fist and some random taijutsu. And Shino accepts, and they do teach Shino some taijutsu, and Shino is exceptional now. He is amazing at taijutsu. Not amazing, like he is around. Let's say he did have 5 days, so he was around when Naruto first started training at taijutsu with Jiraiya. So you remember when Jiraiya and Naruto were fighting, and then Naruto thought he got Jiraiya, but then Jiraiya's like, you're not the only one who can use shadow clones, and that's the level of Shino's taijutsu. So it's pretty good for a Genin, especially because back then Naruto was training with Jiraiya in Legendary Sanin, and Naruto says, how about we start sparring each other, because you never know, the next exam are individual fights, and if we do come up against each other, let's have no ill feelings, okay? And they're like, yeah, we'll fight for the win, and they start training. So first is Shino versus Hinata, and the winner versus Naruto, and then the loser versus Naruto, because they all get to fight each other. So first is them two, and this is actually a pretty good fight, especially because at first Shino uses his insects to fight long range, but then Hinata gets closer to him, and Shino realizes he has to try out his new taijutsu skills, and they do start fighting, and it's not that fair for Shino since Hinata's way stronger in close range fighting, until Shino gets out his lightning style, lightning release on his kunai, and Hinata decides to, because Hinata's much smarter here, she decides to use wind release on her kunai, since they both have wind release, and Shino realizes that he's gonna lose this fight if he doesn't start using a different chakra release. So he uses wind release, and now they're fighting with kunais, and they both know wind release, so it's pretty even until Shino runs out of chakra because of his overusage of the chakra release, and because he's more used to releasing his chakra on small insects and bugs instead of a larger object like a kunai, which is like 100 times bigger than a bug. Not 100, like let's say 20 to 30 times, and so he's exerting 20 to 30 times more chakra than what he exerts on one little bug. And Shino does lose out of chakra loss, but then Hinata says if we were gonna fight for another 2 or 3 minutes, I probably was gonna lose. I was running low on chakra as well. And Naruto says let's take a rest and then we can start our fights. So they take an hour rest, they go eat, and then they go back and train. So Sasuke this time sees them three walking towards the forest, and he is curious, so he does follow them. Naruto does realize that Sasuke is following them, but he doesn't really care because he's just going to show off a bit more to Sasuke. He doesn't know Sasuke is getting more and more jealous of Naruto, and yeah, Sasuke does have the Tutomi Sharingan by now, and he isn't as strong as Naruto yet, and he's frustrated by that because he knows that Naruto chased away the guy that nearly killed him, and Naruto was like, okay, let me just show him that what my skills are. So Naruto first versus Hinata. Their fight is much more intense since they are both Naruto can fight long range and mid range, but he'd rather make it fair for Hinata since he knows he's stronger than Hinata, but he wants to see if he versus Hinata how much she can do to him. So he goes at close range and realizes that Hinata is way better than him at close range fighting, even though he trained with Might Guy. Her Gentle Fist and her Byakugan are a deadly combo. So he backs up and says, well, we know who's stronger in close range, so let's try mid range. And Hinata realizes that she is lacking in those departments, and Naruto says you should never let your guard down, and Naruto does say get his sword out, and Hinata decides to try what Naruto did in the Forest of Death with her water release. So she says water release, water needle jutsu, just like Naruto, and Naruto is completely stunned that Hinata is able to pull this off, and he barely dodges it, and one of the needles goes through his hand, through his wrist, and he realizes that he can't hold his sword with his right hand anymore because his wrist is pretty much paralyzed, and he has to fight with his left hand. So Hinata's technically winning here until Naruto says fire style, fire phoenix, fire flower phoenix jutsu, and his fire is orange, just saying, and Sasuke is completely pissed that Naruto even knows how to do fire style, not only wind and water style, but even fire style, which just pisses him off, and he just leaves fuming, and he's gone to train by himself again. And Hinata realizes that she can't get rid of all of them, even if she has the Byakugan, and she does do the palm rotation just to avoid all of them. And she runs out of chakra. Yes, she does know how to do the palm rotation, not perfectly because they did train individually, and she was saving this for the tuning exam finals because she thought she could get in, but now Naruto knows. So, anyways, they're not gonna fight anyway because I'm not gonna make them do that. So now Naruto's fighting Shino. Shino is more of a long range fighter, and Naruto can fight long range, but he's more used to mid range fighting. And so Naruto does start fighting against Shino. So Shino and Naruto start fighting long range. Naruto does try to use the water needle jutsu, but then Shino decides to do a different move, and he adds chakra nature transformation, so water and wind style, to his bugs, and he tried to add both of them in a few of them, and they turned into like his bugs were now able to use ice release. Yes, I'm going to allow him to use ice release, but only with his bugs, because it's too hard for him to do it on his own. So once so Naruto does do the water needle jutsu because the wind slicer is way too dangerous, even if he's not trying. And he realizes that Shino made up a ice wall out of his bugs, and he says, Shino, how do you know how to do this? And Shino's like, I just tried to add both my chakra releases to my bugs. And Naruto decides that Shino was really good at this, and decides to allow a bit more of his full power out, and he says lightning style, purple lightning. Yes, Naruto learns the purple lightning, because in my first part I did say Kakashi did teach him the basics of the Chidori, and now he just had to learn how to do it, but he couldn't control it because he didn't have the Sharingan. Yes, I'm talking a lot now. And Naruto says purple lightning to destroy his bugs and his ice wall, and he kind of paralyzes Shino, and Shino decides to use his bugs to heal him up. Guys, I'll be right back. I need to quickly go to toilet. So Naruto uses his purple lightning on Shino, and that's basically it for the first day of training. They're going to train individually now for the next 2 days and take the last 2 days off. So they do train individually. Naruto trains in his genjutsu skills, and he wants to try that thing that Shino did, the ice thing, and Hinata wants to try it as well. Well, they didn't know Shino had 3 types of chakra natures until Shino found out in the fight. I forgot to mention that. So Shino has lightning, water and wind, and Hinata only has 2, water and wind, and Naruto has all 5. Kinda that is such an OP little team. So Naruto trains he tries his ice thing that he wants to do it, and he is making some progress, but now he needs to take the 2 days off. Hinata keeps training in her weapon using, because she is pretty good at releasing genjutsu, not at making genjutsu, but taijutsu she's pretty much the best in her team, while Shino tries training in his taijutsu skills and tries to improve that ice thing that ice Kekkei did, just like Haku. So now they take the 2 days off, and they just hang out together and go have some fun, right? So they go out and hang out a bit, and now we start the preliminaries. So the preliminaries, the matchmaking is the same. So Naruto wins his, and he shows off a bit by using his purple lightning against Kiba, and Kiba is completely stunned but that Naruto knows how to use lightning's release, and Kakashi's like, hey, that purple lightning is basically the Chidori, just a bit weaker. And he realizes that Naruto must have made a new jutsu with the first 2 steps of the Chidori, and he realizes that Naruto is pretty much over. Sorry, got a call. So Kakashi's like this Naruto kid. He's already Jonin rank, because the purple lightning isn't something. The purple lightning is a Jonin rank technique, and Naruto has made it himself. So Naruto wins his fight. So Kiba loses. So all the fights go very similar, except for Shino's one. Shino does try using his new bugs to use his ice release, and everyone is completely stunned. And Hinata does try the ice release thing as well. So with her gentle fist, she does try to put chocolate releases on it, and it kind of works, but then she still loses because Neji's much stronger. But Neji respects her for her being this strong already, and the fights are all similar. And Team 8 is pretty OP right now because all three of them have ice release. Anyways, so the fights go similar, and Neji is more injured, like really injured, since he has frostbites everywhere, since Hinata did use a bit of ice style. Even Naruto and Shino were surprised that Hinata learned this, and Hinata's like, well, I just tried it a bit when I was training and it was working, kind of, but it's not as good as you guys' ones. Well, you guys, well, I don't know how to speak anymore. It's not as good as Naruto's and Shino's. So the 1 month training starts. Shino goes off and trains with his father. Hinata just says she's going to take a rest for a month but she's still going to keep up with the training regularly. So once a day she's going to train for like 1 to 2 hours with her sister and father, while Naruto goes out and trains by himself until he is hungry, and he goes into the village to get some ramen. While he's walking, he does still meet Jiraiya, and Jiraiya says, if you can find me by the end of the day, I will buy you ramen and I will teach you new jutsus. And Naruto knows who Jiraiya is, since he did learn a bit more about the village history, and it's like, whoa, I get a chance to train with the legendary Sani. Since he is still goofy, he says, hell, believe it, and Jiraiya body flickers away, and Naruto does some shadow clones, and all of them body flicker to find Jiraiya. So by the end of the day, Naruto does still find Jiraiya, and Jiraiya does still train him the next day after they have ramen. They train, and Naruto learns the summoning jutsu and summons Gamabunta with the 9 Tails chakra when he's thrown in the div or down the canyon. So Naruto is basically training for the whole month in more taijutsu and new skills, like how Jiraiya teaches him the water clone, and he teaches him the earth style, mud wall and earth wall, and great earth wall, and he teaches him the great fireball. Naruto knew the fireball jutsu, but not the great fireball. And he also teaches him a bit of sage. No, he tells him that sage mode is something that he could learn, but when he becomes stronger. And Naruto's like, believe it. And that was during like the last few days, and Jiraiya's like, take a rest for the last few days or you're going to be tired on the day of the finals. And Naruto's like, okay, and then says bye to Jiraiya, and Jiraiya says, I'll be cheering you on from wherever I am. And Naruto's like, thank you, and he runs off. He does meet up with Shino and Hinata. Well, just Shino. Hinata's hanging out with her friends for once. Not for once. She's hanging out with Sakura and Ino, who drew in the preliminaries. So they're all out. So they were hanging out. They were having ice cream and Hinata sees Shino and Naruto walking past and calls and says, "Do you want to have ice cream with us?" And they do hang out, all five of them. And Ino starts like admiring how strong Naruto is and wants to become strong as him one day, but of course that's never going to happen. And Sakura is like, wow, I wish I was strong as Naruto, because she saw Naruto in action when he was actually going all out against that snake guy that bit Sasuke. So in, let's say, 3 days the finals begin, and Naruto's first fight is against Neji. So Naruto and Neji have a good fight until Naruto pulls out his ice release. Yes, he did train a lot more in ice releasing, and he basically does what Haku was doing, the ice mirrors, just that his ones were like ice crystals, and he was going through them while throwing kunais with let's say water release on it. And the Photokage was really impressed by Naruto, and it's like, Naruto's probably already Jonin level, I'm probably going to give him tuning, even if he loses somehow to anyone, but he knows someone could beat Naruto, which is the Gaara, the One Tails Jinchuriki. And I forgot to mention this, Gaara does still crush Lee's legs, and Lee does still need the operation. So Naruto wins and everyone congratulates him, not the villagers. The villagers still are just surprised that Naruto could beat a Hyuga, but they digress, and the next fight is happening. So the fights go pretty much the same. Shino's one, he wins default because someone gave up. Sasuke does appear in the last moment since he is the last fight, and he fights he fights Gaara. Sasuke really got jealous of Naruto when Naruto showed off his purple lightning, so he asked Kakashi to train him in his lightning release thing, because he did find out he has lightning release. So he does learn the Chidori, and Naruto's really impressed by Sasuke, how he learned the Chidori in just a month, while he took like maybe a year or a year and a half to develop the purple lightning. And he was really proud that one of his friends could maybe rival him. He's not saying he's the best, because you never know what could happen when you're a ninja, but he's really proud of Sasuke that he did something that Naruto couldn't do, and he just did it in a month, while Naruto took a year and a half to make a replica of the same jutsu, but just a bit weaker. So he's really impressed by Sasuke. But then you will know what happens. The attack on the Leaf Village begins. Everyone's put under a genjutsu except for Naruto and Hinata, Shino, Sakura, and Shikamaru, and of course Sasuke, Kakashi. Kakashi does tell Naruto, Sakura, Shino, Shikamaru, and Hinata to go after Sasuke, because he's following Gaara to finish off his fight, because he just wants to destroy Gaara, because he wants to show that to everyone that Naruto is not the strongest, but he is. And the Naruto's team does follow, and Shikamaru does stay back to cover them from the ninjas, and then Kankuro comes out of nowhere, and Shino and Hinata decide to stay back and tell Naruto and Sakura to keep going and to find Sasuke and bring him back, and to stop Gaara. So once they arrive there, they see that Sasuke is already in his curse mark state, and he is enraged, but that he can't beat Gaara and he's weaker than him, and Gaara basically knocks him out. And then Sakura runs to Sasuke and tries to stop her, but she doesn't stop, and she is still getting crushed by Gaara's one-tailed arm. And Naruto realizes that if Gaara goes full one tail, because he realizes that Gaara now is under the transformation, because he did hear that Gaara apparently is the One Tails Jinchuriki, just like he is the Nine Tails Jinchuriki. And Naruto now realizes that he has to summon Gamabunta to stop Gaara, and he does, but by the time he gathers enough chakra while fighting Gaara, Gaara does go one-tailed form into his one-tailed transformation, and Gamabunta is saying that to Naruto that he cannot beat Gaara's one-tail Shikaku without because he doesn't have claws. And Naruto says, "What if I transform you into a beast that has claws?" And Gamabunta's like, "That should do the trick." And Naruto transforms him into the nine-tailed fox, and Gamabunta does defeat Shikaku. Doesn't defeat him, he just puts him down until Naruto headbutts Gaara into oblivion. I'm joking. And they do fall to the ground, and Naruto still gives his Taku no Jutsu and says, "I can be your first friend," and everything. So from here on out, the fight against Gaara goes similar, because Naruto could have beaten Gaara in his normal state, but once Gaara started transforming, Naruto was no match because he still isn't as strong. So Naruto now is considered as the hero by some Jonin and some Chunin, but of course, I think he is injured, and the third Hokage still dies to Orochimaru by sealing away the first and second Hokage and Orochimaru's arms. And so Naruto still has to go out and find Tsunade with Jiraiya. So they do head out with the Sand Shinobi, and they separate ways, and Gaara and Naruto say goodbye, and Temari and Kankuro thank Naruto for bringing back their old brother, so basically the one that used to be playful and kind, and that Gaara disappeared after their uncle died, when he was ordered to attack Gaara and everything. So Naruto is with Jiraiya, and Jiraiya says, "Hey Naruto, do you want to learn a new ninjutsu?" And Naruto's like, "Believe it," and he does start his Rasengan training. By the time they meet, he does go up against the two Akatsuki members. So I mean, while this is all happening, while Naruto's training, the Leaf does have to still verse the two Akatsuki members, which are Itachi and Kisame, and the same things happen here. Kakashi is put under a Genjutsu, and Kisame and Itachi retreat. So Itachi and Kisame now do go to find Naruto, Uzumaki, and they find him in the hotel where Naruto was trying to master the second step. He will master it by the time they meet Tsunade, by the way. And well, the second step he will master that, not the complete Rasengan. So Naruto still does open the door, because he was still like he wasn't on guard. He was just trying to train, and then someone was knocking on the door. He thought it was like room service or something like that, but then realized that it's two ninjas, and he sees that one of them has the Sharingan and a leaf headband with a cut in it. So he realizes this must be an Uchiha from the leaf, and maybe it's Sasuke's brother. And then out of nowhere, Sasuke arrives and shouts out to Itachi, "I'm going to kill you." And he does do the Chidori and basically destroys the hotel corridor with this Chidori, and he still gets put under the Genjutsu. From here on out, it is pretty similar, just that Naruto is so they do escape after Jiraiya appears out of nowhere, and Might Guy appears out of Might Guy arrives and takes Sasuke back to the leaf. So now they have to find Tsunade even more, because they have to heal Kakashi and Sasuke from their coma. And so Naruto, by the time they meet Tsunade, has pretty much got the Rasengan down, just that he needs a bit more experience with it. And once he tries it, he does fail it, because Tsunade breaks the ground and he falls to on his face. And Tsunade calls Jiraiya a fool for teaching Naruto such a strong technique, and Naruto gets really angry at this and says, "He's no fool. He knows I can master this technique." And so Naruto has basically does train for sorry, I messed up with my script there. Naruto does still take the bet with Tsunade, and Tsunade does still say if he wins, if he masters the Rasengan, which he already masters, he just needs a bit more experience using it, which is going to get in one day. He's going to get the necklace from her, and she's gonna come back. But if he loses in a week, they're gonna leave her alone. So the next day, Naruto starts training, and Tsunade does meet up with Orochimaru, and Orochimaru gives her the offer, and says in a week time you can come back to me and tell me. So Naruto thought that one day was enough of experience, but then when he tried it again, he wasn't good enough. So he kept training for another 3 days. So it was the 4th day, and Naruto still hasn't come back to the hotel where Jiraiya was there, and Jiraiya's gone out with Tsunade, and Tsunade does still poison him, and she goes and meets up with Orochimaru. And the next while this is all happening, Shizune was searching for Tsunade since she hasn't been back in the hotel, and she was worried till she sees Naruto on the ground, and she takes him back to the hotel, and she kind of heals him a bit, and then Tsunade appears out of nowhere and says, Shizune, what's he doing here? And Shizune's like, he's been training for the past few days, and look at his state, he's completely drained, he has no chakra left. And from here on out, it goes the same, except that when the Orochimaru fight happens, Naruto doesn't just stop the kunai, but when he stops it, he says ice release, ice piercing jutsu. So a bunch of ice needles appear behind Naruto, and they pierce Kabuto, and Naruto's not done there. He says fire style, great fireball, and burns Kabuto, and that's not it. Naruto has no mercy towards Kabuto because he's so serious about his ninja life. He says Rasengan with one hand. That's what Naruto was trying to master. Instead of a clone, he wants to do it with one hand. That's why he kept going, and he does a Rasengan with one hand and annihilates Kabuto. So Kabuto is basically unable to fight, and goes to Orochimaru and says, I can't summon let's say the snake. And so they retreat, and Tsunade does still see that Naruto's bleeding. She heals his hand, bandages it up, kisses his forehead, and gives him the necklace. So now we skip to a week later, when Tsunade has arrived to the village, and she heals Sasuke and Kakashi, and Sasuke is still jealous that his brother, I got confused there. His brother came for Naruto but not for him, and he wants to fight Naruto. So Naruto's like, no Sasuke, you're not in the right state to fight. And Sasuke is like, I don't care, Naruto, I'm stronger than you, and I want to prove it to everyone, and Sakura will be our witness. So they do fight, and Naruto decides that he doesn't want to really go fight Sasuke in this state, because he thinks that he knows that Sasuke has no chance, but in the end he still has to do the Rasengan. He does it with one hand, and Kakashi barely arrives in time, because Naruto doesn't need the clone to do it this time, and it doesn't take too long. So Kakashi barely appears and throws them away into the water tanks. This time Sasuke, since he's a bit stronger here, he trained a lot harder. His one makes a bigger hole in, well, his hole was already bigger, but I'm saying he makes an even bigger hole in the water tank, and he thinks Naruto is weak, because Naruto does make the a little hole, but then he realizes that once he jumps off of the building thinking that he's stronger than Naruto, he sees that the water tank is completely annihilated at the back. It's not just a big hole at the back, but the whole backside of the water tank is destroyed, and he realizes how Naruto's technique doesn't seem like too much, but in reality it's a really strong technique. So he goes off all angry and jealous, and uh, Kakashi still asks Jiraiya if he taught Naruto this technique, and Jiraiya's like, and did you teach Sasuke the Chidori? And they're both they do both feel guilty because since it's because of them these two best friends basically are fighting. And Kakashi's like, let me go lecture Sasuke, and he does still tie him up, and gives him the speech about the that vengeance is not always good. And then the Sand Four appear and say, Sasuke Uchiha, do you want to beat Naruto Uzumaki and your brother and kill your brother Itachi Uchiha? And Sasuke's like, how do you know this? And they say, we've been watching you for the past few for the past few days, and as soon as you woke up you wanted to fight Naruto Uzumaki. And they're like, he's like, so you watched me fight my brother? And they're like, yes, we have. And Sasuke's like, how do I know how do I know you guys are going to make me get stronger? And they show him the curse mark 2 state, and they say, you know that curse mark that you have, it was given by Orochimaru. There's a second state to it, and you have only unlocked the first state. And Sasuke realizes that the curse mark 2 state is a lot stronger than the curse mark 1 state, and says, I'll think about it. And they say, if you have until tonight 10 p.m. because that's when we're going to be leaving. And Sasuke does still say goodbye to Sakura and says thank you and leaves. And a few minutes later she wakes up to see Naruto asking her what happened, because Naruto was training, and Sakura told him. But the next morning a team has been selected, so Lee is still recovering, so he'll join late as always. So it's Naruto, Shino, Shikamaru, Kiba, Choji, Akamaru, and Neji, and Hinata. So they go off. It's a lot of people. How many people is that? Naruto, Shikamaru, Choji, Neji, Hinata, Shino, Kiba, and Akamaru. Yeah, that's 7 people. We could say 8 if you count Akamaru, but Akamaru is basically with Kiba, so they're like 1. So the fights go similar, but this time Shino stays back with, let's say, Neji, and Hinata stays back with Shikamaru to help him out, since Shikamaru is not good at close range, and Hinata's pretty much the best at close range there after Neji. And Choji can do it on his own. Also Kiba can do it on his own. And Naruto's up against Kimimaru, and Sasuke wakes up and says goodbye to Naruto and just goes off on his own way. And Naruto does put up a really good fight against Kimimaru using his purple lightning. He has all his fire techniques, his body flicker, his Rasengan, also his shadow clones, his he also uses the chakra, the wind slicer and the water needle jutsu, and also he even uses his ice Keke Genkai that he has developed, which actually does a number on Kimimaru, but Kimimaru does still protect himself by making a shield of bones, but he still gets hurt from the ice, and he is kind of drained right now. And then Lee appears out of nowhere and says, Naruto, my rival, you should go and get Sasuke. I will handle this one. And Naruto's like, are you sure, Lee? Because he knows Lee is really strong and he trusts him, but he just doesn't want Lee to end up like what he was a few days ago. And Lee's like, don't worry, Naruto, trust me on this one. I have a secret technique that I haven't used against Gaara. And Naruto's like, wow, Lee has another secret technique, so he could have basically beat Gaara, but he didn't use it. He was holding back. So Naruto's like, alright. And Kimimaru does try to stop Naruto, but then Lee appears out of nowhere and kicks him in the face, and Kimimaru's like, so you're my next opponent, I see. And he just gives up on Naruto because Naruto's gone way too far. And by the time Naruto arrives and Sasuke arrives in the final valley, Naruto appears out of nowhere by using body flicker and says, and they still do have their fight. Naruto would have won if he wasn't drained from the fight against Kimimaro. He uses the purple lightning, the fire, the Phoenix Flower Jutsu, the 5-star 5 Phoenix Flower Jutsu, also the body flicker, the wind slicer. But of course, Sasuke is in his Curse Mark 2 state, so you wouldn't really work on him. He would cut him, but not fully, just cut off a limb. He does use his Ice Kick and Genkai to freeze Sasuke's feet, and it kind of works, but then Sasuke just flies up, and they do still have the clash. And Naruto, since he's way more drained than Sasuke, he does lose the clash, and Sasuke realizes that if Kimimaro didn't drain Naruto of his chakra, Naruto would have definitely won. And he's still jealous that Naruto's kind of stronger than him, but he leaves and says goodbye my friend, and he leaves. And that's pretty much it for Naruto. I will be covering Naruto Shippuden in the next part. Hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share and subscribe, and also please join my Discord, link in the description below. Subscribe to my friend Retreat, who made it. I'm probably gonna use my friend's Miniman's recording, Miniman's gameplay to in this video. And also I'll shout out to Nexus, who's doing a collab with me. I will be uploading the our collab by today, I'm pretty sure. And also I have a new Twitter. I will leave a link down below. Please go follow me on Twitter. I will be posting when I'm going. I will be sorry guys. I will be posting a post right before I upload. My internet is not the best, so it does take like an hour to upload. I know it's a long time, but I do make a lot of what ifs a day, like 2 to 3, maybe even 4 sometimes, but let's not get into that. Thank you for listening. Hope you all enjoyed. Please like, share and subscribe again, and take care, stay safe, and peace.